Destination Nightmare, the B-Movie Podcast.
Yeah, really, it's time to pray for the Wildcats. Oh, man. I've watched this movie a few times. I think we probably did it on Slow Robot, I'm not sure, but this is such a goofball movie. I mean, just to see Andy Griffith as a psychotic, it's kind of worth the price of admission.
It's the first time he played a bad guy, I think.
Is it really? Well, he did a guy. It was a movie that I've never seen, but it's been on Turner Classic, and it was called A Face in the Crowd. And I think he played like a sleazy preacher in the 50s, but his image was like, Andy Mayberry, always fun, always nice, I guess he wanted to get out of that, image.
Get more roles. And plus, that's when the 70s, when movies started to change, they got kind of more down and aggressive, and you couldn't have a Mayberry of Andy. Andy of Mayberry, unless he had an alcohol problem or.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a soap opera, but it's an interesting one, and these are pure '70s movies, man. With everything's downbeat. Everybody's like, messing around, kind of like now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Except without the good music. That's the one saving grace of the '70s. Well, there's many. I was a kid. They had good music and they had good comics, and the TV was okay, but you had a lot of creature features to make life, better or whatever. But back then we had all the crap of today, but there was better media. What can I tell you? But these TV movies were like, man, they cranked these out every week. They had a new one, and it seemed like ABC. These were for ABC. Because at the beginning I saw ABC Red Circle. Yeah. NBC had them too, but the ABC ones were like the ones that I remember, because they were more down, and again, I never watched that many of them because I was probably watching crappy sitcoms. But when I see them, I'm like, you should watch this just because of the cool people in them, Yeah.
I remember watching this when it first came out.
You did?
I don't remember the story, but I remember. It had William Shatner on it, which I like, and Robert Reed from the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Right? He was familiar, and then Andy Griffith, Andy of Mayberry. So I kind of let's watch this. And this is the kind of scary movies my mom would watch.
Yeah, because it's not a monster movie.
Scary thrillers, but they were okay enough for her. They weren't too drastic or grim or whatever, And the bad guy gets his muppets in the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, there wasn't. Well, a lot of the guys in this movie get some. We spoiled one thing, but we didn't spoil it all because they all kind of lose stuff or whatever. But there's no blood and guts in this. The worst thing they do is put a hatchet in a car, in that the radiator of the car or whatever, and a couple of punches here and there. But it was just kind of shocking to see, what a corporate dirtbag Andy Griffith was. But you know what? Now that you watch it, you go, maybe they were just foreshadowing the future here with all these weirdos or whatever. I read about this movie in a magazine, and some guy was like, "Oh, this is a great movie. Watch this and that," and Shatner, and I'm like, oh, "Okay." And then my friend, I was talking to a friend of mine who lived in West Palm, and he said, "I think I recorded that," and he recorded it, and he watched it. He goes, "Oh man, this is incredible. I got to make you a copy." And I had my original was on VHS, and I was like, "Oh man, this is great." You can get the DVD of this. I saw it on Amazon for like $8 or whatever. This looks like it came. Yeah, this looks like it came from a DVD because the quality is real nice. It doesn't look like a a crappy VHS off of.
Mm.
And I never, and again, I remember back in the late 80s, early 90s talking to a friend of mine going like, yeah, those crappy TV movies. And he was like, you should watch them again. They're kind of interesting. And I'm like, okay. And when I saw, I mean, I love The Night Stalker, The Night Strangler.
Yeah.
The one about the little gremlins that come out at the night, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, Trilogy of Terror, but dramas like this, I would not be watching as a kid.
Yeah, I didn't watch this. Monster movie, I was there. Scary, ghost, sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yeah.
Something like this. And again, probably the only reason I watched it, either for one or two reasons. My folks were watching it, and so whatever they watched, I watched. Or it had William Shatner, which I really like watching William Shatner in almost anything. I could do a toothpaste commercial and I'd watch it.
You like to watch him chew up the scenery doing William Shatner. Even though he was pretty low key in this movie, he wasn't. Maybe somebody told him to tone it down a little bit, Yeah. It's funny too. It's like when they wear those jackets, that Andy and Shatner, they both have like those shirts that look like they're like Enterprise shirts. Did you notice that? The tan.
Yes, I noticed that, and I was reading comments on it, and somebody said they're surprised that Robert Reed was alive at the end of the movie because he was wearing a red shirt.
That's true.
Yeah, but the first time they took the jackets off, I'm like, are they Enterprise shirts? Did they do that?
Exactly.
They must have done that on purpose.
They had to have done that on purpose, because it was like, that's a little bit too much, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But it's like, okay, whatever. So, but what was I going to say? Angie Dickinson's in this. Lorraine Gary, who was Shatner's wife, who was in all the Jaws movies. And
she was Shatner's wife at the time?
No, she played Shatner's wife in this movie.
Okay.
But she was in all the Jaws movies, playing the same.
Yeah, she played the mother of the Jaws movies.
And then Janet Margolin, who was, I remember seeing her. She did a lot of TV, but I remember seeing her in what was it called? There was a Gene Roddenberry pilot called
like Earth 2?
Planet Earth.
Planet Earth, yeah.
Yeah. It never became a series, but John Saxon was in it, and
he was in both of them.
Yeah. No, Alex Cord was in Genesis too.
Cord, all right, right. But I thought they did too with John Saxon in like a similar.
Oh, I don't know. I've just seen Planet Earth. I know they did Planet Earth and the other one. And back in the old days, I remember watching Genesis 2, but I never saw Planet Earth until like 10 years ago. Somebody played it at a store, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. John Saxon as Shatner. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I don't remember watching them at the time. But it was fun. But yeah, she's in that, and she was also in a Woody Allen movie, early one, the early funny ones, Take the Money and Run or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, she was pretty. And Marjoe Gortner, who was I think he was a boy preacher. And
preacher, and then he moved into acting.
And he was in a lot of movies, kind of playing the same kind of dude. The young hippie-ish,
the young hippie guy,
Yeah, so it's a fun movie. It kind of starts out with they're having like a big old fancy picnic, right? And there's a lot of motorcycle scenes. You can probably fast forward through about 10 minutes of this movie where it's just riding motorcycles,
Yeah, that's how it starts out. They're riding, and as they crest the hill, the camera freezes and shows the guy's face and his name. And then they're, and they're not really big motorcycles. They're more like motorbikes, it looks like.
Yeah.
And then the women, or the wives of the three ad executives are there, and the Shatner's wife and Robert Reed's wife kind of know each other because they still work together. And Marjoe Gortner's,
they're younger. They're the younger guys.
She's the youngest. She doesn't quite fit in because she's kind of hip, and now she doesn't dig that scene.
Marjoe's kind of hipster now, but he's into it,
Yeah. So he's trying to rise. He's like the new kid at the agency, and
he's a the art guy too. He's the one who paints.
Yes, art
director.
Director or something. Yeah. So.
And Shatner's like I guess he's like the big shot, and Robert Reed's his assistant. And then they're having they're having a hell of a picnic. They got champagne bottles and all this fancy food, and then Andy Griffith is there, and basically they're all trying to kiss Andy's ass so they can get his ad campaign. You know? And they have like board meetings, and Andy, he's like a real dickhead, and he's got a real hard on for, we all got to go and take a motorcycle trip down to Baja because his excuse is that he wants to check the scenery out before he gets there, and Shatner doesn't want to do it. He's the one that
So he says I don't have the time, or I got other things to do. Yeah, and I've met guys like this where they know you're going to them and trying to get them as a client, so they just like stringing you along and making you jump through just because they can, and they're dickheads and
exactly.
And no other reason than they just like control. It doesn't help them. And sometimes it actually hinders the process of getting shit done.
Right, and there's no guarantee you're going to get the campaign either. By working with them. They could bail at the end, but Shatner doesn't want to do it because there's a health thing possibly with him. No, he wants to. It was kind of complicated, but he was getting terminated, but he was hanging in there for this last campaign. And he was also going to the doctor to see how his health was because he wanted to get like a big insurance policy. And basically, you had the impression since he was getting fired that he was going on this, that when he ended up going on this trip, it was kind of like a suicide
he's going to kill
so
himself.
his family could cash in on the life insurance. It was something to do with that, I mean, I think even one time he's driving, he thinks about jumping off the cliff, but he doesn't.
Because they're driving down, they're on the coastline, and he's like, they stop for a second, then the three others drive off, and he's looking at the coastline, and he's like, should I do it now? And he also said he's having some problem with his throttle or brake.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So he's just like, should I do it now? I said, nah, and he changes his mind and follows the rest of the guys.
But then...
And he's getting terminated. He's trying to get a big life insurance so he can off himself. His wife doesn't know that he's been fired.
Right.
And we also find out he's been having an affair with Robert Reed's wife,
Angie Dickinson.
And he's telling her, no, it was a mistake. And
her and Reed are not getting along, But Angie and Robert Reed, maybe she watched that episode of Medical Center where at the end he got an operation to get turned into a woman. Did you ever see that?
No, I never saw that.
Oh, you never saw it? You got to go watch it.
I got to watch that one.
There was an episode of and they made a big deal about it. This is in the 70s that he got a sex change, and it was Robert Reed. He was trying to kill his Brady Bunch image or whatever. So maybe she watched that and she went, "Oh God, now that this guy, So
Medical Center, Robert Reed. Okay.
Yeah, you got to check that out. Yeah, it'll creep the hell out of you. But at any rate. Robert Reed and drag. But anyway, they're having problems. And then Marjoe and Janet Margolin are like, she doesn't want him to go, and she's having a baby, and he's like, oh, I got to do it, babe. I got to do it. There's all this money, and then afterwards we can, have the kid, and everything's going to be great, and blah, blah, blah. So, I think Shatner finally relinquishes,
Yeah, because I think he realizes that maybe he can use the trip
as suicide
as a way to kill himself and stuff. And it's funny because as I was first watching this, I can remember like at the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s, there were a lot of movies that were sort of bashing the middle class culture of working for a living and work first and leaving your family in the lurch. And not, not being there for them and stuff. There's just a lot of movies like that, and this is sort of like, I guess, the tail end of.
This is 74. So this is 74. So it's probably the tail end of, there was a lot of I need to get out of this marriage and go find myself or whatever. Basically, it's like these guys are middle-aged dudes, and Andy wants to be a young jerk again. You know what I mean? And he wants his. And he didn't have any pals, so he's going to use these guys to be his pals to, go and have some, like, whatever, be an asshole and be a jerk or whatever. But this is definitely like a middle-aged, what do they call it back then?
Midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis movie.
Kind of thing, yeah.
That's it, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, the people, they got married, they were in love, they always had picnics, and you'd take afternoons off and hang out, and, so as they got more into their career, they would, like, work late, and they'd be at the breakfast table, like, reading the newspaper in front of their face or working on things, and the wife's like, we don't do anything fun anymore. And he's like, well, we got this house, and we need the money and stuff. Oh, but I miss, can't you just take off? It's...
Yeah, no, I can't, because like I got Andy Griffith again here telling me that I can. If not, we can't afford these luxurious houses we live in, and these fancy schools the kids go to, and your brand new station wagon, and
Robert Reed drove a silver Corvette.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah.
Nice one. Yeah. Yeah, and then Shatner drove like just a big box car.
Yeah, his wife had a station wagon with the kids.
Red station wagon. I would have rather had the red station wagon because that looked cool.
I remember those station. I rode in some of those station wagons.
I had a station wagon like that.
You did? Wow.
That was my second car.
Oh man! Wow.
Yeah. Ford Fairmont, right? Maroon. A nice big, and I always had the seat back because you could carry a lot of crap in there and stuff.
Yeah, I remember one time I rode in the back because it faced the opposite way, and that was fun.
Oh, I love that.
Yep. I was a kid, me and other kids, where the parents were in the front, and we sat in the back, and we were like, oh look, staring at people and whatever.
Waving, making faces.
Yeah, waving, making faces. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think they still make station wagons as of like 25 years ago, because I knew a guy in the 90s, maybe longer now, that he had a station wagon. I go, how old is this car? He goes, oh no, this is only like 2 years old. I go, they still make station wagons? Because back then the vans and the SUVs were big, but now they're still making. I used to have a van, and it was.
Oh really?
Yeah, and at first it was my parents bought it. At first I was like, what'd you get a van for? But when I started driving, and I was like, oh, this is cool. You can put a bunch of people in here and do all sorts of cool stuff. So I actually got to like it. And that damn thing was probably the best car we ever owned because it never broke down. But I ended up getting another car, and the back of it, where the door, where the vans had the tire in the back, the metal was breaking, so it needed some work. And I sold it for cheap. But damn it, that thing we had it for like 10 years. Never went into the shop for repairs. Only replaced the battery once. It was a great car. We used to
I always wanted to travel around in because I thought they were cool too.
Yeah,
I remember driving my brother's. I remember borrowing my brother's van a couple of times, and the first time I got in, I wasn't used to how there was no front, space in the front with the engine. So you pull up to make a turn, and you're like, oh, you feel like you're freaking out in the middle of traffic. Yeah. But the van's had just a flat face, so it was cool.
You didn't have much hood in it, so you kind of like, you got to gauge it differently, But it was. But man, I mean, that was a van that I had when I ran a comic shop, and I used to get the books and put them in the back, and when I'd go to the store, you'd see the people like on a Friday back then just standing outside. Hey, can I help unload the van? Yeah, come on, let's go, and open up the comics, and it's like, oh man, new comics, yeah. Those were the days.
Yeah.
And that was also the video van, because around that time I met a friend of mine, and we became like going to video stores a lot. This is in the late 80s, early 90s.
Uh-huh.
And every Saturday we'd come over, and that van went all around town just looking for video stores. So that was the comic van and the video van. Oh, yeah, that good old... What was it? It was a brown van. It was an Astro. It was an Astro van. Great car. But at any rate, I never drove a motorcycle, so...
No, yeah.
You know. But anyway, getting back to the movie, Andy convinces them all to go to Baja, and they want to go, and but before they go there, right, they stop at a... No, wait a minute. Something happened to them. What happened to them before they got...
First, they meet together at, I guess, some border entrance, and it's like a really small town, and they're like, why the hell did you pick here? And he's like, well, you know, you get us right into the action, because I'm literally on the other side of Mexico.
Right.
Built a small Mexican city, and there's, you know, dogs and chickens running around. A typical, you know, a typical...
Generic.
Generic Mexican village or city. So then they're driving, and I think the first stop, they're at a bar, and there's a hippie guy and a hippie chick, and she's wearing like a shirt that's
bell
tied
bottoms
up
and a tight shirt.
Her stomach. Yeah, she's doing like a belly dance to some Spanish music, and they were all, well, Marjoe Gortner and Andy Griffith are getting rowdy and stuff, and Robert Reed's a little, you know, getting a little. He's not really into it.
Reed and Shatner are the uptight guys. You know?
Yeah, he's real, like, you know, he's got those aviator glasses, and he's got the gray sideburns and stuff. So Andy Griffith, he's getting all worked up, so he tries to get up and dance with the girl and then grab her and make out, and then the hippie boyfriend gets up to stop him. They start fighting, and William Shatner breaks it up, and he's like, hey, come on, you know, let's just get going, and we'll, you know, we want to have more fun on the road, so let's just forget about this. So, you know, the next morning, Andy Griffith's by some well or something, rinsing his face off, and he sees the guy and the girl get in their van and drive away, and he's looking at them, and he's leering at the girl and stuff. So then they're driving down the road, and again, like 10 minutes of motorcycle riding.
Yeah, right.
And they come to the coast, and they're on like a cliff, and they see the hippie guy and the hippie girl dancing in the waves naked, and there's the van parked on the beach. So they, you know, Andy Griffith's like, you know, getting all weird and leery, and then those three drive off, and that's when Shatner's looking at the cliff going, should I do it now or later?
That's right, yeah.
So then they drive, they find a camping spot, and then Andy Griffith is saying, well, I'm gonna, you know, see, we don't know, I don't know where we are, so I'm gonna drive up to the mountains to see where things are, and you know, like where we are. Cause and
Marjoe goes with him. He goes, if you wanna. Andy's like, yeah, whatever, man. If you wanna come, come on.
So they make he starts going, then he suddenly makes a detour towards the beach. And Marjoe goes, hey, where are you going? He says, I'm just going to make a little detour. So they go, he goes back to the van, and he's the hippie guy's there, you know, I don't know, doing something with the engine. And he's going, well, I see you're a nice guy, and I just wanted to apologize for the other night at the bar, and here's $100. And the guy's like, you serious, man? He says, yeah, I'm a hippie with money.
Yeah, yeah, he says that, yeah, right.
And then it's like, you know, I'll give you $100, and then we'll forget it, and then like you can give me something. So it's implying that he wants to sleep with the girl.
Yeah, because the camera keeps panning to the girl, you know.
Yeah, get out of here, and he starts picks up a stick and starts swinging at Andy Griffith. You know, and Andy Griffith picks up a hatchet, and they start fighting, and then the hippie guy runs off to be with the girl. So Andy Griffith takes the hatchet and destroys the radiator of their van. Now this is in Baja Desert, which is very inhospitable.
Okay, so I wondered why it was such a big deal, but okay, yeah.
Yeah. So then they ride back.
Yeah, he drains the radiator of water or whatever. This is before cell phones, so you know.
Yeah. So he and Marjoe Gortner drive back to the camp, and Shatner's not impressed with this guy. He's always suspicious of him, and Robert Reed is kind of like a suck up, but not, and he's trying to walk the line between being a reasonable guy and being a suck up. So Shatner goes, "I thought you guys were going to the mountains. How come you're coming from this direction?" And says, "Oh, we got lost. Right? Isn't that right?" And he goes to Marjoe Gortner. "Ain't that right?" And Marjoe Gortner goes, "Yeah, that's right." So then they're driving again, and again, couple of minutes,
5 minutes of motorcycle, riding.
And they stop for a moment. A helicopter lands, and a Mexican cop comes out, and he says, "Who are you? What are your names?" And he collects their permits for being in Mexico. And says, "Well, what are you collecting our permits for?" And he says, "Well, there was a guy
and a girl, and the guy died of whatever.
The guy died of exhaustion because he was walking and hiking.
And she's in the hospital.
She's in the hospital. She got bit by a snake.
Right.
So right. Shatner is suspicious. Marjoe Gortner is all like twitchy and freaky, and Andy Griffith's like, I think they couldn't have been us to do anything because we passed them about noon, and I remember seeing them jumping in the water naked, so they were probably stoned out of their minds. So that's So the cop goes, "All right, we'll go to the next village just over the hill," which they do, and then they're in the bar, and Andy Griffith's like pouring drinks for people and showing them how to
doing tricks and stuff,
trying to get the cop drunk, and Marjoe Gortner is getting drunk too, and he's he's trying to be. You can see he's upset.
Yeah.
And Andy Griffith's like giving him the stink eye, saying, "Just calm down, just." And Shatner kind of figures out what happened, and then he's outside, and then Robert Reed follows him out. And they start talking about it. He says, "We got to we got to tell the police what happened," and and that Andy Griffith was the one who destroyed the radiator and stuff.
And they don't want to do it because they'll lose the money or whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, "Well, let's wait till morning, or let's just go, and then when we get back, we can tell the American consulate, and they'll take care of it." And Shatner's like, "Oh, is that it? We're just going to give up and let somebody else take care of it?" He says, "No, we're in this. We got to do something about it." So Shatner's there drinking tequila, and he falls asleep. He just gets drunk and falls asleep outside. And he wakes up, and Andy Griffith and Marjoe Gortner go riding off to the airport because they're close to the airport because they're going to fly back home.
Right.
And Robert Reed is there by his bike trying to fix it, and Shatner's going, "What's going on?" He says, "Oh, those two guys are going to the airport. My bike can't be fit. My bike's it's got some issue." And
they got their things. They got their information back because I think the girl died. So
yes,
there's nobody that
the girl died. So they gave the information back. I don't know why, but
but there was nobody that could testify against.
That's true. So Shatner's like, he's looking at Robert Reed's bike and he sees the sugar around the gas cap. So he confronts him, saying, why did you do that to your bike? And he's like, well, we can't confront him because we need his campaign for the agency and stuff. It's like, well, you're just giving up, and you're just as bad as he is in a way, that kind of thing. So Shatner rides out after them, and he catches up to Andy Griffith and Marjoe Gortner. And you find out that Andy Griffith hired Marjoe Gortner as his company's graphic design manager. Mm-hmm. And then Marjoe Gortner drives back to the town where Robert Reed is. And then Shatner and Andy Griffith, Shatner tells Andy Griffith, "I know you did this. I know you did this." And then, and when we get back, I'm going to tell the police and stuff. So then Shatner drives off, and then Andy Griffith rides after him. And there's they're going back and forth, and Shatner falls on his bike, and Andy Griffith goes to like run him over, and he jumps out of the way, and he gets back on his bike, and they're driving, and they're by the cliffs, and Andy Griffith keeps trying to kick his bike off the cliff, and then the cliff makes like a sharp turn, so Shatner turns his bike really fast and falls off it before the cliff, and Andy Griffith goes like sailing right off the cliff, hits the beach, and he explodes, and he's dead. So then Shatner drives.
I had to give you the explosion just to. Oh, he's really dead. No, he's not dead because he just flew off a high cliff and he hit the water. No, he blew up. Oh, okay. Now we're sure.
Yeah. So then Shatner drives down. He drives into the ocean on the bike, and then he comes out, and he's all like emotional. And
there's like a 5-minute scene of him jumping up and down in the water, screaming, and
So then it flashes back to the border town that they got in, and a Mexican ambulance truck comes up to a California ambulance truck
with Andy,
and you see them take out the pulse and put it in the truck with the Wildcats jacket, and then another truck, a police truck, comes up, and the three men get out, and you see Robert.
No, I think they're back in their town. I think they're back in their town.
They're back in America. That's where the women are waiting.
Because their wives are waiting for them or whatever.
Robert Reed. He comes to her and he says, do you want to go on a vacation? And whenever she goes, no, I want a divorce. And she walks to the car.
Angie Dickinson walks away.
And Marjoe Gortner is like, I want to
have the baby, and it's going to be great. And
she's like, in the beginning she said she was pregnant.
Yeah.
It was a surprise to him. And he's like, I want to get married, and we'll have the kid. And she says, well, there is no kid, implying that she had an abortion.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then William Shatner.
Him and his wife, are fine. They're good at the end of it, you know.
And then Robert Reed comes over, and he says, they never really specified why Shatner was being fired. But at the end, Robert Reed sort of implied that it was Andy Griffith who was behind it, I guess. Because he says, well, there's no reason for you to be fired now, so we can, you can come back to the agency. I think Robert Reed was going to be promoted to Shatner's position.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And Shatner goes, there's always going to be, no matter what the product or what the campaign, we're going to fight these wars with the Andy Griffith guys of the world. And it says, you're welcome to it. And then he goes off with his wife, and apparently, it implied that I guess he's over his midlife crisis or whatever, and they're going to
switch roles or something, like Shatner will be...
they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then and you see, like, Robert Reed kind of looks dejected, and Marjoe Gortner also looks rejected. So the two guys who just either tried to placate, or two guys who tried to placate Andy Griffith, you saw their lives were falling apart. And Shatner, who kind of stood up for what was right, his life seems to be going in a back up to a better direction or something. Like that.
Right. Yeah, that's the moral of the story. Yeah, the two, because Robert Reed was really, he was pushing for, the Andy Griffith campaign, but he was kind of like wishy-washy in this movie. Shatner was like kind of like suicidal, and Marjoe Gortner was all hyped up to, do all this stuff. So I get the impression at the end that that Shatner was telling Robert Reed, well, you're the head now. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't know if he was quitting.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they were going to switch roles and say, hey, you take the lead now. I don't want to, it was ambivalent. It was ambiguous, but.
Yeah, it was ambiguous, but it just seemed that Shatner learned, I'm not doing this anymore. To, just kissing the ass of any
right, yeah.
big guy who comes along. So screw that. So yeah, it was kind of a little morality play.
It was a soap opera morality, but it had its moments. Like all these. And this one was longer than the usual TV movie. Usually the TV movies were in an hour and a half time slot, and they usually run an hour and 15 minutes or 10 minutes. This was an hour and a half, so this must have been a special event, and they did it in like a 2-hour slot, because this ran for 135 minutes or something like that. Even though in all actuality there's a lot of padding and motorcycle riding, and I think at the very end of the movie, is this the one where at the very end of the movie they show you everybody that was in the movie with like a little clip? Yeah, I'm watching it right now because I got it on. At the end, after the credits roll, it's like Andy Griffith as Sam Farragut and William Shatner as I'm watching it right now. So everybody, all the stars, Warren Summerfield. So all the stars get like a little credit and a little scene or whatever. Robert Reed as Paul McIlvaine, and so there was a little bit more padding at the end. So, but
well, you got to. Back then, Shatner was kind of big. Griffith was kind of big.
Angie Dickinson was policewoman.
Angie Dickinson was big. Robert Reed was big.
Yeah.
Even Marjoe Gortner at the time was
He was doing movies. Yeah.
Janet Morgola, and so a lot of them. It was always like a big stars. So they probably did do a special event.
Yeah.
2-hour movie to film. It could have been an hour and a half. Just cut down
the woman who's the dancer on the beach. I just saw her credit, Marilyn Hearn. Now that name rings a bell to me, and I'm thinking that I wonder if she was involved. I'm going to look it up right now, or you can. We both will. I'm wondering if she was involved in some ways with the Beach Boys, because I remember that name. Let's see here, Marilyn Hearn. Let's see here. She looks real familiar, but she could have been another. Let's see. I'm got an IMDb. Oh, they credit this movie. Maybe I'm confusing her with another actress or whatever, but
possible.
She's just known for this movie, so I was confusing her with a movie. I'm thinking of another actress that had some connection with Dennis Wilson or whatever. But at any rate, This was it's an enjoyable movie. I mean, again, it was padded, but the thing about all these TV movies is, you get if you're of a certain age, you get to see all these cool people that, in their prime, so to speak. You know what I mean? And like Angie Dickinson's still around, and Shatner's still around. I'm sure Marjoe Gortner is, but a lot of the people are gone now. But you get to see them like in their heyday, or towards the end of their heyday, or whatever. Yeah, Angie Dickinson looks exactly like Policewoman. She must have been like, they must have dragged her from NBC or whatever and had her do this show, because she used to look. When she did Policewoman, she got thinner and more wiry. Because when I remember seeing her in the movie, she was a little. She was a little more, she was a little different looking or whatever. But she got wiry and thin, and I guess she was, she was Policewoman. So, but cool movie. Yeah. Cool one. A lot of these TV movies are cool, and they're the right length for a movie. They don't. I mean, even though it was padded, but it wasn't boring. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, cool. And the plot was...
And back then, if you had a motorcycle, even a little one like they had, it was considered, like you were considered a dangerous person. And because people associated motorcycles with biker gangs, regardless of what kind of bike you had or like how you dressed. Or they thought you were, walking some thin line between, decency and crime and stuff like that.
Because
it was also when the hippie movement had died down, but there were still people. Much. They had like some of the hippies and had sort of like entered into the
biker world,
normal world. But they still had some wild ideas and stuff. Like Marjoe Gortner and Margot, what is it?
Janet Margolin.
Margolin. They weren't married. It didn't say that.
Right. They wanted to get married at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were living together, which again was like really taboo back then. You know.
But
that's what.
Yeah.
You know, some younger people look at this movie. They don't always pick up some of the subtleties.
No, they won't. No.
Things that were like considered risque or dangerous or wrong back then. You know.
No, they won't, because it's like the norm now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, were once habits are now vices. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, this is there are other coming of age movies. Oh, I'm trying to think, and I'm kind of like losing my. There were other coming of age movies at the time, but this one was definitely like one of the more out there ones. And if you watch some of those old biker movies from the 60s when they didn't have the budget, you see a lot of the biker guys riding those bikes. They don't all have Harleys, you know what I mean? Only the big kahunas.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Have Harleys.
The smaller bikes.
Yeah.
The main
probably couldn't afford it or whatever, but yeah, I think that was a thing back in the early 70s, where guys that were like, in their 20s in the 60s or whatever were kind of like, longing for the youth, which I guess everybody does, at some point. But Andy Griffith took it to an
extreme.
Extreme.
There were a lot of movies about a midlife crisis where the guy gets divorced or takes
cheating on his wife or something.
Yeah, and invariably he gets either a motorcycle or a sports car, and he tries to change the way he dresses. And
yeah, that's exactly right. He gets why'd you getting a Corvette? Well, I can do it, and I want to. I mean, shit, that still goes on today. What are you talking about? It is, that never ends. But this was the first time. This was an early version of that, is what I'm trying to say. But a really snarky, crazy version of it. So yeah. Again.
Yeah. Andy Griffith was good at chewing up the scenery too.
Oh yeah.
In fact, he chewed it up more than Shatner.
He sure did.
So, and it was to see Shatner in such a subdued role was kind of like, wow, that's nothing like I know of Shatner, how he acts, and because even when he's like, what's that? He was in that Law TV show.
T.J. Hooker.
No, this was later on when he was older. It was with James Spader.
I don't
remember. He played that
remember
crazy lawyer. But he was just very sedate. But still, even sedate, he could overact.
Yeah, he really. I mean, it's almost like somebody said to him, "Hey, Andy Griffith is the star. We can't have two guys chewing it up." So, can you imagine? Shatner wasn't even doing like, "Hey, what is you doing?" stuff or whatever. He was really like, he was really acting in this. I mean, I didn't know you were a big Shatner fan. I didn't used to be until I watched some of the crazy movies that he did, and now I am a big. We'll do next movie we'll do another Shatner one where it's even sleazier than this one or whatever. We've done it before, but since you're a Shatner fan, you'll get it. It's called Impulse. It's a B movie.
Okay.
It's a B movie, cool. But boy, this Shatner as his sleaziest. It's
well, he was in wasn't he Big Bad? Was that a Big Bad Mama?
I saw that movie in the theater with Angie Dickinson.
Yeah.
We actually snuck in to see that movie, and they let us in. And I was like, we were like, God, when that movie came out, we were probably we were like 16. We had cars already, but I guess back then it was like 17 and under or whatever. But, I was already like 6 feet tall, so it was like they weren't going to stop me from going in. Same theater that I saw Emmanuel at. So that theater, when I was 16, so that theater never stopped anybody from going. They took everybody's money, and I mean, they didn't care, I saw Big Bad Mama there with him and her, and then
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. That was her B movie right after Policewoman. That's right. Oh yeah, there was a Big Bad Mama too. I
Was
believe.
there really?
Yeah, there was a part two. I think she was in it. I'm not sure, but the first one was better. But yeah, Shatner was doing all the. Shatner was kind of lost. I mean, he wasn't lost because he still had TV shows and movies and commercials. But it wasn't until like that they started up the Star Trek franchise again that he became more iconic. Because he was doing all. He did a show called The Barbary Coast that didn't last long.
Yeah, and I like that. He
With Doug McClure, right? With Doug McClure was in it too.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it reminded me a little bit of the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Where the one guy was the fighter and the other guy was always doing makeup and
yeah, that was it.
playing different role. And Shatner was always in something. Yeah, I remember. I was upset that it was canceled because I like Shatner. I like to watch certain actors. I can watch because they're fun.
Yeah, him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a fun guy, chewing the scenery. T.J. Hooker, I wasn't really a fan of that show, but it was fun to catch it every once in a while. He played, like you're under arrest, maggot.
I don't think I ever watched that show. I was like, but it was popular for a while there, while he was doing the Trek movies, and he also did some of those like in the 70s anyway. William Shatner's Tales of the Unexpected, like those documentaries or whatever, Nimoy did the show and he did his own version of it, so he was doing and that's when I think
he still does one, The Unknown or
X. He still does? Okay.
I think it's on like Discovery or Travel Channel or something.
And around this time, the 70s, mid 70s, that's when the Star Trek convention started hitting.
Oh yeah.
So he was like big at those, and he was that kind of kept him alive for a while.
Yeah.
And game shows too. Oh my God, I saw him on quite a few game shows.
And also like on things like Columbo.
Yeah. A bad guy in Columbo, yeah.
Yeah, where the police show where you play bad guys and stuff. So, and I guess you're playing Captain Kirk, you want to like branch out a bit and I don't know, play a bad guy or.
And he was a good bad guy. I mean, he had that snarky look on his face. He could be a good bad guy. And Robert Reed, did TV movies. He kind of like. From what I was told or read, Reed didn't like being on the Brady Bunch, so as soon as that ended, he went out of his way to like change his image. And Marjoe Gortner had a few years, and Angie Dickinson, she still was making movies, and like I said before, Lorraine Gary was in all the Jaws movies, so it's fun stuff. It really is a nice time capsule.
And I remember hearing Robert Reed was hoping the Brady Bunch would be more serious, and deal with serious family issues rather than the goofy.
Another show that I never watched, but I know it has many fans.
Yeah, I watched it every Friday. I watched that and The Partridge Family.
I think I did watch The Partridge Family.
I had a big crush on Susan Day, and then a big Shirley Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, Susan Day, who ended up being on a lawyer show, right? L.A. Law or something
L.A.
like
Law,
that.
right? L.A. Law, was that it?
Yeah, L.A. Law, I think it
Harry
was.
Hamlin.
Harry Hamlin, from Clash of the Titans, whatever. Yeah, I watched The Partridge Family for a little while. I don't think I watched the whole series because they repeat them every once in a while, and there's some episodes where they brought in this little kid to join the family, and he was a singing kid, and I go, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think that was towards the very end.
Yeah.
And I think the same kid was also played Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch.
Was that him? Okay.
Little blonde hair and the Sugar Bowl haircut.
Yeah. I never watched the Brady Bunch because I was more of a Leave It to Beaver guy from, earlier on, and. Yeah, it was an interesting time. Robert Reed just went on to make. Robert Reed was also in episodes of Mannix, because my friend got Mannix, and he was a recurring character in Mannix too. So,
oh, was he really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was doing that, and yeah, it was interesting. And Gortner he did a lot of movies. Oh man, a lot of them. I can't think of any right now. Let me look them up. Marjoe Gortner, and he just kind of like faded out. And I was like, I mean, he might have said, you know what, I'm done. You know, I'm getting to be an old guy or whatever. Yeah. So that's it. But
and a lot of them sort of transition to behind the camera,
maybe
being producers
directing.
or directors, or that kind of thing, and some even move into other types of entertainment.
But he always kind of played sleazy, you know what I mean? It was like he was always kind of. Oh, he was in Star Crash, that great crappy Star Wars ripoff with Carolyn Monroe. That's a great movie.
Was he really?
Yeah. Oh, you never saw that? That's a great crappy movie. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Mausoleum. That's another cheesy horror movie. A lot of TV. Laughing, Star Crash. Oh yeah, this movie, which I never saw before, but it was based on a play. When You Coming Back, Red Rider. I remember that. Oh, he was in The Food of the Gods with Joan Collins.
Yes. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh,
I remember the commercial for that with giant rats and
giant ants. Yeah. Oh, he was in and I forgot about this movie, Bobby Joe and the Outlaw. That was the one where Linda Carter was in it before Wonder Woman, and she's topless in it. Yeah, I remember going to the theater to see that. You know, wow, he did do a lot. Earthquake, Barnaby Jones, Pray for the Wildcats was pretty early for him. Wow. It was like the second movie credit that he ever had.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was like, it looks like, well, I can't see what the date is, but it looks like, when did his career end? I'm trying to, whatever. But it's let's see, the last credit he has here is a movie called Wild Bill from 1995. So I guess that was it. You know, but I forgot about those cheesy movies that he made. Oh yeah.
It's funny, like when I go on.
He was in T.J. Hooker too.
He was on T.J. Hooker?
Yeah, he was on T.J. Hooker. Two different roles too.
When I go on to the Roku and you get the movie apps that stream movies, there are so many movies I never heard of. You know,
God,
from the 60s, 70s, and 80s and such. And I'm like, wow. I mean, they must have. I don't know what they did with them. Or they probably showed them at drive-ins and such, or like, you know, limited little small theaters, smaller towns and whatever. But so many movies, and of course, they're not necessarily good movies.
No, there's an endless supply of B movies. Endless supply.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the ones that they dubbed in Europe and they brought over here.
Yeah.
And they were real limited runs. You know, they played at a drive-in, they were gone, and now video companies or streaming companies just looking for product, just grab them and put them on there, and you can watch them, and you know what.
Copyright. Yeah, so like you'll get a couple of different movie streaming apps, and like maybe 85-90% of the movies of the movies they show are on all the streaming things, and every once in a while, you know, they'll have some different ones. This one will have a bunch of different ones, and you know, more European or more Japanese or more Spanish, you know, adult stuff. But it's interesting to see how many damn movies. It's like, wow. We'll be doing this till the year 3000.
Tubi has a ton of movies on there.
Yes, yeah, Tubi's
and
good.
They're free. They're commercials, but they're free. Amazon Prime has a bunch of stuff on there. Yeah, it's endless. I mean, you end up going on you know, what do they call it, a rabbit hole of movies, you know.
Oh, God, yeah.
YouTube has a ton of stuff.
There's a streaming app called Midnight Pulp. They specialize in a lot of...
That shows up on... I got a Roku TV. There's a streaming channel section. It comes up on my stream. It's almost like cheapo cable with all these channels, but Midnight Pulp is one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got a Roku TV, too.
Yeah, I got a Roku, too.
Yeah, where it says live channels. Once you get past the locals, it gives you all these like, different categories: kids, sports, food, and then there's movies, and Midnight Pulp is one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's never ending or whatever. You know, and the stuff that you've never heard of, stuff that
Yeah.
you used to read about in Famous Monsters, but you never thought you were ever going to see. Well, somebody's got a copy of it.
Yeah, that
you know?
movie we watched a while back about the women secret agents fighting the male. Oh, what the hell was the name of it?
Oh.
It was supposed to, like a British sex farce, but it was boring the sex was boring as hell.
Oh God! Now you got me going. I can't remember right now.
Was that? It was in the 70s, I think. It was supposed to be like softcore porn, and it starts out with a guy meets the girl, and they're playing strip poker, and they keep taking their clothes off and putting it back on. And he's some secret agent. Oh, what the hell? And then there was some woman.
I'm looking through all our movies, and I'm trying to figure out which one that was. It sounds like something that I watched.
She had a secret group of women agents, and
what was it? I'm going through them now. Madhouse, She Demons, Brain of Blood, Santo, Blood and Lace, and Destructible Man. You know what? It might be a movie that you watched and we never did. It almost sounds like.
No, I remember we talked about it because we were saying how, man, the opening scene where they're doing the.
Oh, it was Zeta 1. No, was it Zeta 1?
Yeah, that's Zeta 1. I've heard about that. I've never been able to find it until I found it on. I think I found it on Tubi or something.
Yeah, it was
like
a sci-fi one.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was Zeta 1. I completely forgot about that dopey scene.
Yeah.
Because it sounds almost like this other movie that we watched on the other show called Secret Agent Pepper, which was this cheesy but...
God, I could just imagine.
It was like this cheesy but great-looking women in it, spy movie. But yeah, Zeta 1, that's right, that British one. Yeah, that was a sci-fi sex. Yeah, here it is right now. It's with we did a double feature with that and the one Blood of Ghastly Horror, the one that you saw at the drive-in, remember?
Oh, yeah.
That you left or whatever, you know. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, with Tommy Kirk.
Tommy Kirk. It
was the movie that was shot, and then they reworked it.
Yeah.
And then they reworked it again, and then they added John Carradine scenes into it. Oh.
It was called, I forgot what it was called before, but it had another name, Man with a Synthetic Brain or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because John Carradine, somebody brought a Vietnam vet back to life by
that's it.
Putting some, I don't know, something some brain thing, some lobe or something like that. Oh my God.
Yeah. I completely forgot about Zeta 1. It was like,
wow.
I'm going through all the list of them here, and I'm like, oh yeah, Zeta 1, yeah. Because it reminded me of that spy movie. Because I think in that spy movie, that Agent Pepper, there is some scene where they play some nude chess game or something. I don't know. You know, I guess that was a thing back then. I don't know. Nude chess or whatever, you know, but whatever, you know. Yeah, that was oh God. Well, at any rate, yeah. Pray for the Wildcats. Go watch it on YouTube while it's there. It's a fun movie. And download it if you want. Not that I'm telling you to do it, but I am telling you to do it. Because it's or get it on Amazon for $7. You know, whatever. But
you know what would be really good is if you could watch it with the original commercials in place.
You know what you can do if you really want that is you can go on YouTube, and some people have like 40-minute commercial reels.
Wow.
And if you have like one of those editing programs, you can kind of
edit your own.
Because you know, with these movies, when they go to a commercial, you can see them fade.
Yeah, it's easy to tell where the commercial breaks are in these movies.
Yeah, it's easy. So it's like, okay, here's where the commercial comes on. Like in a lot of movies, they did those cue dots that would show up on the top of the screen telling you, okay, commercial time, you know, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I can put it in here now. But yeah, with this one, with these TV movies, you can easily fade. They're faded, so you can put, you know, the commercials for, hey, Mikey, he'll eat anything, or...
or compose for those times when you're stressed out.
I tell you, there's this one commercial that I've never been able to find, but I think I talked about this before. When I saw it as a kid, I flipped out. It was a public service commercial, and it was on late at night. It must have been on after 11. I was watching some movie, and it was about so horrible. I'm so horrible. It was about women giving themselves a breast exam, and I was like, holy crap! They showed boobage, and I'm like, whoa! You know, you see the ladies, and I'm like, oh my god! I never saw it again. So back then, the only time you ever saw anything like that was on Monty Python or on PBS. But it was like, oh my god! I mean, in this movie, in Wildcats, they did have that faraway scene of the two hippies bathing nude, but it was like silhouettes. So you know, that was about as risque as they got back then. You know, but yeah, PSA, man, that flipped me out when I was a kid. I remember the day. I remember I was in the room. I go, whoa, you know, I was like, oh my god. But anyway, so some of those public service announcements that they had in the middle of the night, they're pretty funky. If you go on YouTube and you type 70s PSAs, you'll see some fun. There's one that they did, a Star Wars one for, I think, driving safely or whatever. It was probably made after the first Star Wars movie.
Right.
It's funny. It's got R2-D2 and C-3PO or whatever.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It's a famous one. Yeah, if it's on there. And there was another one that's on there that I used before when I was doing some editing. It was called Mr. Yuck. And it's got this creepy music and this creepy little green animation. It was about, be careful with medicines and don't take them because you can poison yourself. They don't want to be Mr. Yuck or I don't know, something like that, you know. And there was another one too that was a weird one. It was about kids, be careful when somebody's dumping their refrigerator in their front yard. Don't get in it. Yes,
don't get in. It's not a spaceship or a jailhouse.
Exactly.
Or something. You know, you don't want to get trapped in there. And I remember those damn refrigerators.
You remember
that? It was
that?
like a meat locker because it had a handle on the outside. You pull it, and this hook,
would
hook into a hole on it, would descend, and you can open the door. And they say, you know, if you're going to get rid of a refrigerator,
take the door off.
Take the door off.
Yeah, but back then people used to throw refrigerators out in their front yard. I don't think they do that anymore, but you know, they throw mattresses out and stuff here. I've seen that before, but not refrigerators. But yeah. That was another one of those freaky commercials from back then. And of course, the one with the monsters are in your TV. Beware of pay TV.
Oh, pay TV with the dinosaurs and the
that one
shaking
too,
their heads back and forth. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Me neither.
I'm picturing a television with like a coin slot on top, and
Me too.
You would drop it in, and you know, it would play into like for 20 minutes, and then you have to drop in another quarter.
I know. It was like, I don't know, and I think what it was, and I noticed it because in this town where I live on now, I go through Google News and I find like old scans of TV guides. And I was noticing that in these towns, small towns, they may not have a TV station, or TV station's far away, you can't get it. So they had early cable TV.
Oh, okay.
And so you paid for your cable TV, and what was interesting is that you would get channels from all over the state. That was your cable. It was before HBO or anything like that, or right before HBO. So I was noticing that. I put two and two together. I go, so why is it that here they had a TV listing for Miami channels, Jacksonville, everywhere? I'm like, oh, that was their cable here. Because some guy that was living in St. Pete told me they used to get Miami channels. How the hell did you do that? It was cable TV.
Yeah.
And all they could give you was channels. But hell, if you had cable TV in the early 70s, you could get the horror show from Tampa, the one from Jacksonville, the one from Miami maybe. You'd have a smorgasbord of movies on Friday and Saturday, so you didn't have you didn't have a VCR yet. But you know, that's a trade-off. So that was what that was. Yeah.
There's a Facebook page I belong to, WNEW, as a 5 in New York, and every once in a while they'll put on they'll post pages from a TV guide for a specific day.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Thursday, July something. And right now they're doing 1975. And by that time, there have been so few monster movies on, So I think by 75, at least, it didn't have as many monster movies as I remember they did when I was younger.
You still had Fright Night on WOR.
Yeah, they had Fright Night, but that's usually sometimes the only one. You'd look at the Channel 11 expecting to see Chiller, and it's got something else. And then every once in a while, like on a third or like a Tuesday night, CBS would be playing some monster movie, and like, oh, I don't kind of remember that. But
yeah, I mean, I it kind of picked up again later on because I have like an old. Remember those TV guides that you used to get in the newspaper?
Yeah. I
have one. For some reason I saved it, and it was from '92. And when TNT started doing Monster Vision, they used to play all sorts of crap on the weekend, Fridays and Saturdays, and it was like, wow, it's all. I was looking through it, and I was like, man, they were playing all this. I mean, I recorded some of it, but I couldn't record all of it. It's like they're playing all this, and then early cable, like USA Network and some of the other ones, they were showing some like oddball.
Yeah, it seems like when a new model comes out.
Yeah.
I guess those movies are cheap or whatever. Well, like with the streaming apps, a lot of those movies, they're in public domain or they're cheap to buy or whatever. And
it happened with Netflix.
They just put it out there.
When Netflix first started, they had tons of B movies on there, and then all of a sudden they were going. And then they replaced them all with their original programming because they became very rich and powerful. So that's always.
I noticed that with a lot of TV stations that were just starting up, they'd get a lot of sitcoms and stuff from the 50s and play them. And you wouldn't have, like, shows you may never heard of, like the Betty White Show, or whatever. Where she's married to Jim Backus, and you're like, oh, this is kind of funny and cool and stuff. And then as they get more popular, suddenly they're getting MASH and all the same crap everybody else has. I think you stop watching the channel because it's like
that's happening. That's happening with the over-the-air channels now. They came in and they were showing all this weird stuff, and as they get popular, they get more mainstream. They still show weird shows, but they either disappear or the affiliate doesn't carry them anymore, or they go out of business. But there's the streaming has got a bunch of, like, Tubi's got a bunch of old crap on it. Amazon Prime has a bunch of it. As soon as they become all powerful, they just start doing original programming and they get rid of it till the next technical achievement or whatever, and then they start bringing them up again. But YouTube's got tons of stuff, and they don't seem to care anymore. It's probably too difficult to police now with all the shit that's on there. So it's good stuff. But anyway, so pray for the Wildcats. Awesome movie, fun stuff. You got to check it out, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more Shatner.
Yes, Impulse.
You've never seen it, huh? Oh, man.
No, I've never seen that. I've seen a lot of it, but I know there's some I haven't seen.
I think Odd Job's in it, too. Harold Sakata's in it, too. So.
Oh, wow.
I think that was a movie where, in reality, he did a stunt, and he almost, like, hanged himself, and Shatner actually saved him. You'll see it. You'll see it. Cool. Just a little taste of what's coming up. So, anyway, we'll be back in a couple weeks, and you guys know who we are, so we're not going to tell you, but whatever. And while we're gone, in the meantime, you all need to watch
more movies.
This is William Shatner, and I would like to invite you to take a journey with me into the 21st century. So take the next few minutes and listen very closely. You'll be amazed at what you hear. Okay?
Can there be a little more excitement in the beginning?
I love it. Okay. All right.
It sounded like really really super laid back.
Well, I'm saying, okay, I'll try and do that. Let's do take two. This is William Shatner, and I would like to invite you to take a journey with me into the 21st century. So take the next few minutes and listen very closely.
Well,
speak up. And maybe you better do it the way you hear it. Do it for me. No, I mean, just go ahead.
This is William Shatner, and I would like to invite you to take a journey with me into the 21st century. So take the next few minutes and listen very closely. You'll be amazed at what you hear.
Is that the way you'd like me to do it? Okay, ready. This is William Shatner, and I would like to invite you to take a journey with me into the 21st century. So take the next few minutes and listen very closely. You'll be amazed at what you hear. Okay, so I think that came pretty close.
Are you making fun of me?
No,
Just testing or something?
No, I believe you asked that was about the way you did it. I wasn't jesting.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, I insist. Now, what I want you to do is is that satisfactory to you?
I don't know, maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut. I mean,
no, because if your mouth were open, you'd have popped some pills in them. So, do the next paragraph for me, page 2.
Well, I don't know. I really don't want to, because I think you actually have a much better feel.
No, I don't think I do. I would like to hear you read the second paragraph, so I can do it that way.
I really, now that I've looked at the different things you did, I really like the first one. But...
No, I like it better the way you did it.
Oh, geez.
Really, I mean it. Please read, so I can get an idea of what you want. No, I'm going to do it the way you think it should go. No, I am going to do it the way you're reading it. Okay? I know you're here to see that I do it the way the company wants it, so I'm going to do it the way you read it.
Well, but I don't want you to do it.
But you're telling me how you want me to do it.
Well, I'm sorry.
No. I am going to do it your way. No, there's no apology necessary. You know what you want. You know what you want.
No, I don't. I
mean, you come in here and you don't know what you want?
Well, I come in here because I know you're a professional. I mean, and you know how to do it. And I'm sorry I even said anything.
No, I am going to do it the way you want. Every paragraph. And you'll send it back to town and you'll see whether, I hope it will please everybody else. As long as I'm pleasing you, that's all that matters.
Mr. Shatner, would you please, I don't feel right about doing that, I really.
Well, no, you felt you wanted something done on the first paragraph. I'm trying to do what you want. Okay, let's lay down the second paragraph.